It's January of this year, and once again, Monkey B's owner is posting old clips. 7, 8, sometimes 10 years old, a monkey playing with a guitar, a monkey chewing on putty, a monkey being hugged, a monkey eating a giant pickle. These clips are presented as proof of care, proof of happiness, proof that nothing is wrong. But here's the question no one ever asks. If Monkey B is healthy and well, why hasn't there been a single new, meaningful interaction with him in over 3 years? This video explains why. Capuchin monkeys are not passive animals. They are highly social, emotionally complex, intelligent, and physically active. Their brains are built for constant movement, choice, exploration, and social feedback. When those needs are removed, not for days, not for months, but for years, the brain doesn't just get bored. It rewires itself to survive. What you're about to see is not normal aging. It's the long-term result of deprivation, restriction, and chronic stress. In early life, a capuchin's brain depends on its mother and troop to regulate stress, learn emotional control, and develop curiosity. When that system is replaced with human control, without primate-appropriate feedback, development becomes fragile. Early on, the animal may still look energetic, curious, normal, but that development is unstable. It relies on external control, not internal regulation. There's something crucial people need to understand about how primate brains develop. A capuchin raised without its mother or troop doesn't just miss companionship. It misses the specific stimulation its brain is biologically wired to receive. Many brain regions aren't fully developed at birth. They require constant, species-appropriate input to grow. Play, social feedback, exploration, reassurance after stress, these experiences literally shape the brain. There's a simple rule in neuroscience: use it or lose it. If a circuit is repeatedly activated, it strengthens. If it isn't, it weakens, and can be permanently pruned away. When a monkey is raised under human control without primate-appropriate feedback, the brain adapts to that environment instead. Social and emotional regulation systems remain fragile, while stress response systems are overused. The brain rewires itself to survive, but at the cost of resilience, flexibility, and self-control. This isn't something a monkey outgrows. It becomes the foundation everything else is built on. As Monkey B grew, his autonomy was further reduced. Neutering, canine removal, chronic restraint. These aren't just physical procedures. They fundamentally alter how an animal's brain understands threat, trust, and control. Repeated restraint teaches the nervous system one thing very clearly: resistance is pointless. This is where learned helplessness begins, not as an idea, but as a neural adaptation. This is the phase many viewers misinterpret as good behavior: sitting quietly, eating snacks, minimal movement. But this is not calm, this is shutdown. Inside the brain, the prefrontal cortex is underused, exploration stops, new neural connections decline, stress hormones remain elevated. Stillness is mistaken for wellness, compliance is mistaken for contentment, but quiet does not mean healthy. During these so-called calm years, another pattern quietly emerged, one that was repeatedly misinterpreted as affection. Monkey B was often provoked into whining fits. The sounds were labeled as cute. The reactions were laughed at. The behavior was encouraged. But whining in capuchins is not a sign of happiness.
No! You pitching a fit? Are you pitching a fit?
In primate behavior, whining vocalizations are commonly associated with distress, frustration, insecurity, social anxiety, solicitation under stress. They are not the vocalizations of comfort or joy. When these sounds are deliberately provoked and then rewarded with attention, the brain learns something dangerous. Distress is the only reliable way to get a response. At times, Monkey B would sit whining while reaching toward the owner. This was framed as affection, as love. But look closely at his body language. He isn't relaxed. He isn't open. He isn't playful. He is hunched over, arms clutched tightly around his own body. Movement minimal. This posture is not bonding behavior. Self-clutching, hunching, and reduced movement are classic indicators of stress and emotional withdrawal in primates. This is a self-soothing posture, a way to contain anxiety when regulation is failing. Healthy social contact looks outward. Open posture, mutual grooming, reciprocal movement, relaxed engagement. What we see here is inward. During shutdown states, the brain suppresses exploration and initiative. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for voluntary action and emotional regulation, is already underactive. What remains is dependency behavior, seeking reassurance without the capacity to engage fully. This can look like affection, but it's actually a sign of emotional fragility. When distress is repeatedly misread as love, the animal never receives appropriate support. There is no intervention, no enrichment, no environmental change. The shutdown deepens. And because the behavior is perceived as cute, the warning signs are missed entirely. This wasn't a phase of contentment. It was a phase of quiet deterioration, one that was applauded instead of addressed. Eventually, the brain can no longer suppress distress. Without coping skills, without escape, without enrichment, the amygdala floods the system. The screaming you hear is not misbehavior, it's neurological overload.
Hello. Oh. Okay, come on.
Tomatoes and grapes. Open it.
It's okay. If you say,
This is what happens when an animal adapts as long as it can, and then can't anymore. To understand what's happening now, you have to look at Monkey B's behavior in two very different environments, and what those environments demand from his brain. Inside the cage, Monkey B's behavior is dominated by fear. Raised hands, verbal taunts, even playful-sounding threats trigger immediate panic. This is not personality. This is not being dramatic. This is a brain locked in survival mode. Neurologically, this reflects an overactive amygdala, conditioned fear responses to specific cues, and a prefrontal cortex that can no longer regulate that fear. The cage removes escape, so the brain chooses the only strategy it has left: submission. He drops low. He freezes. He vocalizes sharply, and he constantly monitors the owner's movements. These are trauma responses, not learned behaviors.
oh, hey, boo. It's our head whip. He's like, what's up? There, boo. Hey. Who's belly? I'm getting that belly. That's all I know.
Now watch what happens when the cage is removed. The power dynamic changes, and so does the brain's strategy. Outside the cage, Monkey B suddenly has space, movement, partial autonomy, but the brain controlling that autonomy is damaged. A healthy capuchin does not ingest nail polish, does not swallow super glue, does not swing sharp objects toward its own face. Wild and healthy captive capuchins have intact inhibitory control. They assess risk, they pause, they avoid substances that smell toxic or feel wrong. Monkey B doesn't, because the brain regions responsible for impulse control and risk assessment have been compromised. This behavior points to dysfunction in three key systems. The prefrontal cortex normally inhibits dangerous impulses, evaluates consequences, applies restraint. When this system is impaired, behavior becomes immediate and unchecked. The hippocampus processes context and memory, helps distinguish novel from dangerous. Chronic stress shrinks hippocampal volume, reducing the ability to assess threat. The dopamine system, becomes distorted under deprivation, seeks stimulation without discrimination. In that state, the brain grabs anything stimulating, regardless of risk. This is not curiosity, it's neurological dysregulation. Capuchins are exceptionally sensitive to body language. They read hesitation, tension, posture, eye contact, distance. They don't need words to know when someone is afraid. Notice the contrast. Inside the cage, the owner taunts freely, raises his hands, moves close.
That's how I am. I get tickles. I get.
Outside the cage, the owner keeps distance, avoids direct contact, uses his feet instead of his hands. That difference matters. Because animals, especially intelligent primates, immediately register fear and uncertainty. Outside the cage, Monkey B is no longer suppressing himself. His brain is no longer choosing submission, it's choosing defense. But without intact inhibitory control, that defense becomes unpredictable. That's why you see lunging, snapping, rapid escalation, impulsive grabbing of objects. This is not aggression for dominance. It's what happens when fear, autonomy, and a damaged regulatory system collide. When Monkey B lashed out, the owner's reaction told the story.
No.
Shock. Because submission was expected, and it didn't happen. That moment represents a fundamental shift. The animal could no longer be safely predicted or controlled. And when that happens, visibility ends. Animals in this neurological state are dangerous, not because they are mean, but because they are dysregulated. Owners respond by reducing interaction, increasing confinement, and removing the animal from public view, which explains what followed: silence and recycled footage. When you understand how the brain has been damaged, the absence of new Monkey B footage is no longer mysterious. It's inevitable. This is why there is no new Monkey B content. Not because he slowed down, not because he retired, not because he's just old, but because the animal can no longer be safely controlled, reliably presented, or predictably managed. So the past is recycled, again and again, to stand in for the present. A healthy adult capuchin remains curious, mobile, and socially engaged well into old age. What happened to Monkey B is not normal. It is the predictable outcome of early deprivation, chronic restriction, and neurological harm. And when you understand that, the silence makes sense. Because this isn't about missing footage. It's about a brain that adapted for survival and paid the price for it. As always, thank you for watching, and please continue to spread awareness of how much these monkeys continue to suffer under captivity and why this owner continues to hide them without creating any new content.